It is a gradual process, taking hold not over weeks and months, but years, decades, and entire lives. The game takes over the body, the mind, the soul. Hockey becomes them. The boys continue their march onwards to another hopeful championship.
We're not your average bear league team. We're a legion, a force, a brotherhood.
The Odyssey includes many different scenes, all played out in the same way.
We play for each other, support each other, come back to the dressing room tired, exhausted, sweating, dripping for each other. We left everything out on the ice, every game.
They are a group of men whose existence is not defined by the game, but instead by a special bond. A bond that began as a choice, but became irreversibly a habit. No bond is as strong as one of brothers who will bleed for one another. Over each full season, their confrontations with opponents, and with each other, will become ongoing stories. Told and retold with ever-growing legend. He is their backbone, their savior. The one who holds their razor-thin hopes in his huge, oversized gloves. It is upon his shoulders that expectations of a successful season are heaped. He is their goalie. He is Pinch Pa. He is Mitch Surprenant. And this is his story. Mitch was born on June 23, 1976, to Patricia and Mark Surprenant. The Surprenants were newly landed immigrants from the Republic of Quebec who fled the tyranny of the Separatist Revolution. The Surprenants settled in Vars, Ontario, a sleepy town outside of Canada's capital city of Ottawa, a town where boys spent their winters on ponds and backyard rinks and summers on pavement, playing a sport ingrained on them by their fathers and brothers. The younger of the two boys, Mitch, took to the sport early due to his big brother Mark Jr.'s obsession with Michel Goulet and the Quebec Nordiques. He first laced on skates at age 3, to the dismay of his mother Patricia.
I was going to the church basement and I was looking for some items and I found these tap shoes. And I thought, wow, this would be awesome for Mitch, you know? And so I brought them home and everything with the expectations that maybe he would think about, you know, getting into something like that because his brother at this point was a lost cause. So anyways, when I introduced him to it and everything, it was like a no-go.
My mom was raised in a very strict Catholic family. She wanted me to be an altar boy, a patron of the arts, to dance, to paint. She was disappointed that all I wanted to do was wield a hockey stick, not a paintbrush. Wear skates and not tap shoes.
No son of mine is wearing fucking tap shoes.
I told her I wanted to dance on the ice, not at the local Legion.
He ended up being a mama's boy, but not the mama's boy that I wanted him to be. So be it.
Mitch adored his big brother. Whatever Mark did, Mitch would want to also do.
Mitch was this scrawny kid that would just keep following me around. He was like a bug you couldn't get rid of.
Small and afraid, Mitch was usually the last one picked when teams were selected. At first, he was barely able to stand up on his own skates, but his competitive nature kicked in and he rapidly improved.
It was funny seeing him learn to skate. He had this odd stride, looked like he shit his pants all the time. He was afraid to fall on his ass.
A growth spurt in grade 6 made him one of the bigger kids in school and on the team. Tall and lanky, he played forward and was one of the team leaders in points. He had a problem though. He felt he wasn't getting enough ice time. When he was 12, however, he figured out how to get the most ice time possible.
The team I had that year had a really bad goalie. So I thought, you know what? Why not just give it a try? Couldn't get any more ice than that.
That summer, a young girl had also moved to town. She was unique and had an accent that Mitch fell in love with. She also loved goaltenders, a love that went back to her native El Salvador national team and their star soccer goalkeeper.
Álvaro Misael Alfaro. He was so good looking. We used to stay after school and just go to the stadium and go watch him play. I had posters all over the walls. I even had the lunchbox with, the Salvadorian team on it. He was just so awesome.
In Mitch's first year as goalie, he wasn't very good. He had trouble catching pucks and would refuse to go down on the ice.
My coaches were always upset with me. They wanted me to cover the puck. You know what? I had these brand new pads. I didn't want to get them dirty. I didn't want to get on my knees. Patrick Waugh was playing this butterfly style. It wasn't my style.
Over time, however, he learned and developed a style that can only be described as unorthodox. A style that in time would become almost unbeatable.
I perfected my style, unique and all, but it worked. You know, that year, one of my years, we actually went undefeated. Undefeated. That was unheard of back then. But you know what? Lost in the playoffs, never won shit.
Not winning the big game would haunt Mitch for many years afterwards. It was a huge hole in his life, a hole that he figured he would never fill. After graduating high school, Mitch decided he'd had enough of being a kid. He married his high school sweetheart, CEO, and moved to a small apartment above the local donut shop.
Well, I was unsure of marrying him. My parents thought I was crazy because I was marrying a gringo. What nobody knew is that I was secretly in love with Mitch since the very first time he moonwalked into my life at a school dance. He swept me off my feet with his foul mouth and two-pack habit.
After the wedding, Mitch went to work as an operator at Bell Canada. Working in a predominantly female field, Mitch lost touch with his manhood, along with most of the guys he grew up with.
When I knew him, he had a thick, luscious head full of hair. He was like a typical kid, though. He had terrible acne. After his wedding, I lost touch with him. I actually didn't see him for quite a few years, 5 I think it was. And then I was at the racetrack with my uncle Gary and Jerry, and I ran into him. And at first, I'll be honest, I didn't recognize him at all. He was working at the track. I think he was a floor sweeper making like $2 an hour, which I'm pretty sure is illegal. I'm not sure what the minimum wage is, but I think it's pretty low. And that, I guess, just sort of speaks to where he was at that time in his life. Just sort of kind of desperate. He had lost most of his hair. He had a fairly substantial beer gut. He looked like a wreck. I think he smoked like 5 cigarettes in the few minutes that I spoke with him. And what I didn't know at the time was that his wife was pregnant with their first child, and while he was he was moonlighting to buy a crib, which is beautiful and also a little tragic.
Mitch welcomed his son Bailey into the world. It was a life-defining moment for him. He decided at that moment to clean himself up and become someone his son would look up to, be proud of.
Yeah, I saw a big improvement in Mitch. He started brushing his teeth, started showering a little more, and then he got rid of that stupid comb over.
Oh my God, what a transformation whenever the first grandson was born and everything, because I remember that Mitch actually, you know, he stopped whining like a little bitch, you know, because it was always like, oh, what I gotta do housework and stuff like that. Anyways, when he finally had Bailey and everything, all of a sudden things were coming together. He was cleaning the house and cleaning toilets, and he wasn't friggin' whining anymore, which was driving everybody crazy, and drive us to drink.
The bliss of fatherhood lasted 5 short years when his second child, Maya, was born. Having one child is a blessing to most men. Having a second child, however, can be overwhelming. Shortly after her birth, Mitch started to look for ways to get out of his house and away from the insanity within. He started reconnecting with his old school buddies, most of whom were either divorced or still acting like teenagers. Late nights at pool halls and gambling parlors that dotted the landscape in Vars were Mitch's way of unwinding from his rough days instead of being a stay-at-home father.
I didn't realize I had a dad until I was in grade 1. I was in the school Christmas pageant and I saw this really weird man sitting beside Mom. On the ride home he told me he was my dad.
It was around this time that Mitch looked up one of his old teammates, Dan Lajoie, who was starring in local commercials by night and corrupting young minds during the day.
I saw Danny in a window cleaning commercial. Fuck, he looked pathetic. He looked like me. He needed a new home. He needed something to do. I thought, you know what? What happens if he actually got the old hockey team back together? We'd go to fucking strip clubs. Wow, have a couple pops. That'd be awesome.
It was a fateful call. During their night of drunken craziness and outrageous stories, Danny happened to mention that he had joined a fledgling hockey team. This team was the Boys.
So it was like a few years later, I think it was shortly after Mitch's second child was born, and to be honest with you, he was becoming a bit of a recluse dad, a deadbeat friend. You know, it was weird. He was starting to speak languages that I didn't understand. I think his wife is Spanish or Portuguese or Italian or Dutch. I don't remember. Anyway, he was speaking with an accent. It is odd, and we decided that, or I decided it'd be good to invite him out and just sort of touch base with him. And I was, at the time, was having a wonderful time being on this entity known as the Boys, a poker and hockey playing experience. We went out that night to a pool hall / strip club called the Big Poker, and it was great. It was a chance for me to sort of share with him some of the crazy things that I was seeing on the team. I still, you know, I remember telling him about how pretty much every game Leo would choke his son, and you know, for not playing well enough and for disgracing the Graces. I remember as well, you know, telling him about this guy Jason Vilmer, who he actually killed 2 people in the parking lot one time before a game. Came in dripping in blood and then scored 17 goals. It was quite the experience. Not necessarily the funnest guy to play with, but it was an experience. It was like you know, watching a snuff film or something like that. You know, there was a time that Kenny broke, I think it was 3/4 of the bones in his body. Mark accidentally swung his stick and hit him, and Kenny just went down in a crumpled heap That was quite tragic, actually, when that happened. But to Kenny's credit, he was able to continue to play with the boys. Anyway, it was all these great stories that I, in that short amount of time, that I think, maybe made Mitch think that he was missing out on life. That life is not all about spending time with your family and working and doing things like that, but really it's about a broader experience and an experience shared with your peers, your male peers. So that. And I also told him at the time that we caught Chris and Ray in the shower. They thought that everyone had left, and I had actually left my stick behind. Actually having a very difficult time with that one, and I'm not sure if that enticed him or what, but I have trouble with it. And it was at the point of the night where I was actually more just sort of, unleashing some of the pain that I have inside. Mitch just seemed all over that one. The scary thing is, I think that's why he joined the boys.
To be part of a team again. Wow. I hadn't been on the ice in years. I had such an itch, to actually get my manhood back. Wow. I was so in.
The Boys Hockey Club was born in the winter of 2009 by Dan's brother Mark, who also needed an excuse to get away from the madness at home.
Times were tough, you go to work every day and you do your best to provide for your family, and you get home at night after a hard day's work and you walk into the explosion of, the wife and the kids and the responsibility, and all we want is a break. All of us want that little break, that time away, that little moment where we can just be ourselves. And I thought that, if I rent an hour of ice and I get a few guys out, have a few pops, and bring out some hockey sticks, maybe we can find ourselves and be the boys that we always wanted to be.
As Danny recounted his experience with the boys, he left out a few important details. They were struggling through their first season in the local OSMHL, getting their ass kicked, fighting with each other over ice time, fighting over the few groupies who would follow them around.
Season 1 was a year where the intentions were pure and the vision was there, but unfortunately nothing really materialized the way I had envisioned it. And as the year went on, we started to realize quickly that there was pieces missing to the puzzle. And while I really wanted it to be special, god damn, it was hard to be special because it was fucking brutal. We had a moment where I think it would really epitomize how bad it really was, and I remember sitting on the bench and looking out as the referee is looking to me to say, what do I do? As two of our players, Matt Pijot and Stephen Foley, going head to head, same team, same damn team, fighting on the ice, never been seen before. What do I do? I raised my hands and said, you know what? I give up. The year is over. We're done. The boys shouldn't exist. We're wrong. Get rid of us. And it ended that way. Season 1 was brutal.
During this transformation, Dan put in a good word with the boys' management team, and Mitch was asked to come out and join them for their second season.
I was sitting down one night watching my Packers, having a pop and some wings, and then I got a call from Mark. He said that I was one of the boys. I almost had a tear in my eye. I get to play hockey again. I went and ran upstairs, woke up with my kids, my wife. Life was about to change.
I always thought that Mitch was not fully a man until I saw him put on the boys' jersey. He's not a candy ass anymore.
Mitch became a full-time member of the boys in their second season, but he did so as a defenseman, not a goaltender. In his first game with the boys, he made an incredible first impression, scoring a hat trick and showing off an offensive flair that would eventually result in the nickname Pinch Pat.
The boys were changing. It was exciting. Mitch joined the team. We connected very well. Early on, though, I learned Mitch not only likes to hog the puck, but he loves to pinch as well. I had to cover for him many times on defense, and I'm not the best person to be playing defense.
In that second season, with Mitch and a few other new boys such as goaltender Tim Quinn and soon-to-be captain Pat Grenier, the team would turn their losing attitude around. Although they would fall in the crossover finals, the boys had finally turned the corner, with Mitch being an important part of the 180-degree change.
Mitch played great defense for many seasons, but he was always pinching. I think coach was getting frustrated and decided enough was enough.
Pinch Pa. Wow. I'll tell you, this has taken me back, and it's a special time in the franchise history because Pinch Pa was a nickname that we gave Mitch Surprenant, one of our defensive defensemen on our team. The nickname because we would plead to him from the bench as a team in French because he seemed to only respond to the French language. Pinch Pa Mitch, which meant stay the fuck back on the blue line. You are a defense. You're not forward, you're a defense. Mitch found himself more often than not behind the offensive net, trying with all his heart and soul to score goals for our team. But Mitch, you're a defense. Stay on the fucking blue line.
Lajoie had the idea to replace All-Star goalie Tim Quinn with an aging, immobile, and generally out-of-shape Surprenant to ensure that the boys could be placed in a division that they would be suited to.
Pinch Pa. We had to come up with a plan. I mean, there had to be an end to this craziness. The executive met, we sat down, the brass talked about it, management, coaching staff, trainers, and we brainstormed ideas and solutions of how we can control this crazy man, this pinching animal. The only idea we can come up with, quite honestly, ended up being a fabulous solution, but we really decided to put the motherfucker in nets. Make him a goalie. Keep him in the nets, keep him in his crease, because otherwise that guy is gone.
The strategy worked. The boys would lose their first 5 games with Mitch in net. He allowed 22 goals in those games, some of the incredibly embarrassing variety.
Yeah, it was exciting. I could go out on the ice and dream of being a goal scorer. Sure, Mitch let in some awful goals, but it kept the games close, and some of the guys on the bench really burst out laughing. But we knew you could take it, Mitch.
The first few games were rough, were real rough. I had no flexibility. I couldn't even bend down, and other things. And plus, you know what? The boys, what the hell do they know how to play defense? What the fuck? I had 50 breakaways a game. It felt like that. I was dripping with sweat every game.
Things were working just as Coach Lajoie had envisioned. Unfortunately, as the saying goes, best laid plans of mice and men often go astray. Surprenant actually started to regain his abilities to play goaltender, and the on-ice results were staggering.
It was awesome. I got it back. Back from when I was peewee. 15-0-3, baby. This guy here. You know what? The boys thought I was gonna suck. Suck it. Enough.
The boys continued their remarkable play in the playoffs, knocking off teams that finished above them in the standings and ultimately winning the Minto Summer League championships. Mitch would lead the charge with 2 shutouts, including a 1-0 finals victory over the heavily favored Rangers.
It surprised me that Mitch was, even though he played like Marty Brodeur, he did stand up a lot, and he was fantastic. Mitch was absolutely unbelievable for a guy who's just started playing goalie after an 18-year lapse. And we ended up in a shootout, and believe it or not, Mitch was the MVP. Mitch was the guy who brought the boys their first victory. Mitch was the boys of 2013.
Fuck yeah! Nobody was gonna challenge me now. They know I could play goalie.
The boys had finally won a championship. After 10 seasons of struggling to get to the top, the franchise now had a banner they could hang in the rafters. With success, however, comes problems, and Mitch was no stranger to controversy.
Oh, Jesus. He went off the books. Seriously, we didn't see him for, at least, 6 months at least. Something like that. Anyways, it was crazy. I think I saw him. He took a picture in, Hong Kong or something like that. I don't know. He got, multiple arrests. He was, driving over top of the speed limit. Jeez. Driving through construction things. Oh, God. I'm not talking to you, John. Jeez.
Things started to unravel with Mitch, and the team was starting to take notice. His erratic behavior was starting to affect teammates in a negative way. During the following season, Mitch would show up late to games, sometimes just a couple minutes before game time. On one fateful night, Mitch arrived at the game and discovered he had not brought his skates.
To say we were concerned was an understatement. I mean, here was the self-proclaimed savior of the boys showing up without skates. I mean, how do you explain that to your teammates? It was embarrassing.
His behavior was not only noticed by his teammates, but his family too.
I woke up one morning, I don't know, I was just taking like hot chocolate or something like that. It was during winter. I saw my dad in the ditch. He was wearing nothing but his jock straps. At first I thought he was dead. Thank God he wasn't. I knew Mom was gonna kill me.
Oh, amen to that.
I poked him in the belly with a stick. He just farted and rolled over.
Really? What are the neighbors gonna think?
On the ice, the boys started to struggle. Looking to repeat as champions, the boys finished in the middle of their division and were quickly dispatched in the playoffs, playing uninspired hockey in front of a prima donna goalie.
Well, Kevin can't skate. Foley won't back check. McKinnon sucks. But Joao and Parker won't stay out of the penalty box. Shaps won't fill his water bottle. I was shocked to hear him talk like that.
Yeah, here I was losing my mind. Here I am, the reason the boys win the first championship. I'm getting no support from them. Fucking McKinnon, pissing me off with this, look at me. I just want to punch him in the fucking face.
Coach Lajoie, though, turned a blind eye to it, hoping that Mitch would figure things out and return to being a reliable cog in the machine. Unfortunately, there was a little thing known as a contract that had to be signed. Management and player had differing opinions on what his value was.
I wanted to start fresh. I wanted to show the boys that I could win in spite of their attitude towards me. I decided to hold out. Best thing to do, right? Show them how important I am. Because I am the man.
It would take 3 games to get Mitch under contract. 3 games that the boys would lose. In his return to the lineup, facing a Rangers team he once shut out in the championship clinching game, he would allow 8 goals in an embarrassing 8-1 loss.
It's not the start I wanted. Trust me.
What the hell, Mitch? Hold out and then come back and allow 8 goals. Another chicken wing, man.
That game, however, would signal a new beginning for the boys. Recovering from an 0-4 start, the boys would rattle off a 9-game unbeaten streak that vaulted them to 2nd place in the standings. Things were starting to gel again in the boys' dressing room. Mitch was toning down his act, and his teammates were responding with timely goals and defensive support not seen since their championship year.
Yeah, things were really starting to go well for us. Shappy and Gary were scoring goals like crazy. Lajoie staying out of the penalty box. Laponce actually showing up for games. We found our missing mojo. But we were always wary of Mitch. Not sure when that guy was going to crack.
Dispatch. Yeah, my husband is stupid. He's in need of help. What is your emergency, ma'am? My husband, star goalie Mitch Surprenant of the boys, just tried to jump over a fire pit in our backyard. He's on the ground crying and unable to move. Calm down, ma'am. We know who he is. We've dispatched an ambulance and 2 squad cars to escort him to the hospital. Don't you get it? It's Mitch Surprenant, the MVP of the Minto playoffs. No worries, ma'am. We hope he didn't hurt himself too much. He needs to be on the ice tomorrow night. Oh, thank you. Please hurry. He's screaming like a little girl out here.
Games can be lost because of just one mistake. Seasons can be lost if that mistake is of the huge, boneheaded variety. And this mistake had that in spades.
My brother's turning 40. You know, we were just sitting, chilling by the fire. You know how brothers are. Daring each other to do stupid shit. Next thing you know, we're jumping over a 4-foot fire. It really wasn't a jump.
My team, the No Deeks, had the Division 1 until Mitch started playing better again. So I decided I'd dare him to do something stupid, like jump over the fire. Who knew it would work so well?
I knew he was going to do something stupid. I saw the dares escalating. Before I left the fire, I told him not to be an idiot and hurt himself. A wife always knows.
Turns out, she was right.
Broke my left toe, sprained my right ankle to the size of a fucking tennis ball, like it was big. You know, and all I could really think of in my head, what the fuck did I do to the boys' team? What are they gonna think? Fuck.
What the boys ended up doing was turning to an old teammate who they had cast away seasons before. An old teammate who would come in and not allow a single goal in the playoffs. An old teammate who would backstop them to their second franchise championship and win MVP honors in the process.
That definitely hurt. Watching the backup goaltender win with my team, my boys, my championship? Fuck, I needed to change my ways. I needed to stop acting like a pussy and be a boy.
Yeah, he came home that night and told me that he was going to change again. This time, however, I noticed right away that he meant it.
On a team with a bond as strong as the boys, the return to form of a brother is a formality. In Mitch's case, he needed to make amends for more than just his reckless behavior.
I think I might have had a few too many chicken wings while I was injured.
To ensure he returned to the team in the best form he could, Mitch undertook a rigorous workout regimen, starting each day with a 25-kilometer run and ending it with weight training, helped him shed the chicken wing pounds and get back to his pre-injury weight.
Mitch has actually gone backwards and everything. I mean, you know, as we grow older, we actually go back to being a child. Well, that's where Mitch is at. Because honestly, since he started with the boys and everything, it's the boys, boys, boys. When he calls me in that, it's all about them. And I am so happy because, you know what? They're finally going to be his second family, and we don't have to try to babysit him so much. But I'll drink to that. And the other thing, too, I've noticed about Theo and everything, she's got an extra, you know, skip, you know, when in her walk and that, because, oh my God, I think there's something going on, if you know what I mean.
Back in the fold, Mitch has reclaimed his place as one of the leaders of the boys on the ice and in the dressing room. Many more championship banners will rise for the boys, and Mitch is sure to be in the middle of it all.